Welcome to the Tea and Tights, a Great British Wrestling podcast for Great British Wrestling. Today we are joined by a very special guest who has competed in over 10 different countries, including the UK, Germany, Hungary, and Japan, and many more. He is known, he's just finished his tour in Japan with Big Japan Pro Wrestling. He is the Dark Assassin, Endo Akira. Thank you for joining us. Should I call you Endo Akira?
Whichever suits you the best.
We'll go with Kara, if that's okay. Kara, big fan of yours ever since that match I saw against Francesco Akira. It was for Body Slam Pro Wrestling. The crowd were shouting, "Who are you?" at I believe Akira, and then you two just tore the house down. What an incredible match! You just want to get some thoughts on that match in particular?
Yeah, first off, I am pretty much a dark assassin, but I'm the cursed assassin today, so it's all right, we're good. Before the mindset and the thoughts regarding the first one, I'm assuming we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
Mm. Yeah, at the time, I remember thinking that this was an opportunity where I could truly, find out if I could compete at this level. And I truly see the match as a big wake-up call in a way. Not that I didn't, I mean, I did lose the match, but I also, in my opinion, didn't deliver. I didn't deliver as much as I intended to, even though the match itself kind of blew up. But I was very unsatisfied with my performance at the time, I remember. So after losing that match, it only fueled me even more to get even better. Uh, so that's the thoughts I have regarding that match, the first one that is.
yeah, because he just finished his All Japan tour and would come back to Europe for a little bit before going off to New Japan. So yeah, I can see why you saw it as that thing. But we'll ask about how you kind of got started in wrestling itself. You've been competing now for just over 6 years.
Yeah, just about, yeah.
Yeah. So how did you kind of get started in it?
First off, I started watching it back in 2005. I saw a segment with Randy Orton, Cowboy Bob Orton, and then out of nowhere, like they were cutting this promo in the ring, and then Undertaker appeared, and I was hooked ever since. And then from there, I did more research onto this thing because I was intrigued, you know. And then I found Rey Mysterio, I found Eddie Guerrero, I found Jeff Hardy, etc. And from there, I was simply hooked. And ever since a young age, that was in the back of my mind to that would be really cool to do, you know, one day. And I did like backyard stuff with friends and all that stuff. And I remember I did my even more research here in Sweden regarding like finding promotions or
Mm.
anything like that. And then I found out there's this one company, and I simply had it in the back of my mind up until like the age of 19 after I graduated high school. And I remember like my upbringing, as sad as it can sound, it wasn't really the most, happy upbringing, let's say. So I remember I was a very sad and miserable child. And then eventually when I graduated high school and I started working, I was so unhappy with myself. And then one day I simply had like a moment of clarity and I was like, by the way, can we swear on this?
Uh, yeah, we won't put it on the radio. We'll just put it on our channels.
All right. So I was like, why the fuck am I, not trying to be happy here? Why am
Mm.
I, what am I doing? Why, why shouldn't I be happy? And like, I remember like thinking we're so small. Like, if you look at the entire world and all this, and I was like, it's not gonna hurt anybody. Who gives a fuck? Let's just, I simply got the fuck it mentality.
Yeah.
Remember thinking to myself, all right, if this job doesn't work out, I'm simply just gonna say fuck it. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. I'm gonna make myself happy no matter what it takes, you know. And what made me happy at the time was wrestling. So, and like I said, I had already done the research regarding like the promotion and etc. So I remember the week after I had this thought, the company just simply like they ripped our contracts. We went bankrupt. So I was like, all right, that's the sign. So here we fucking go. And I contacted the company and they were inviting me for training. And, they were all like, oh, we Herbs, right? Etc. And I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. And ever since the first day I went there, I dedicated my life to it. and that this was on the 31st of October 2016. And yeah, ever since that day, it's my life really. And I can go on and on and on about the entire journey and how the scene is over here in Sweden compared to other scenes and why I left the country to begin with, etc. But I remember thinking this is my thing and this is what I'm gonna do here.
Yeah, because you only spent a couple of years within the Swedish sort of system before moving to Denmark and competing regularly for, I believe it was Copenhagen Championship Wrestling.
Yeah, I was competing over there, but I never actually moved down to Denmark. I
Okay.
was I was still based in Stockholm at the time. The only time I ever moved was in 2019, where I lived in the Birmingham area, or like Wolves and the West Midlands, basically. And I spent a total of 6 months over there.
Mm.
And then Germany as well, obviously. There, I spent a total of an entire year, I believe, of my career down there. So that's still, and obviously Japan now. So. Other than
Yeah.
that, I've been based in Stockholm, Sweden.
Okay. So talking about your time in the British, what we call the Midlands area, or the West Midlands, you were training with Kamikaze Pro Dojo, is that correct?
Yeah. I was training with a couple of dojos, but one of them I shall not name out of respect. But yeah, Kamikaze Pro was my main school
Mm.
in the way. So yeah, and I did the most shows for them. So I didn't get around too much. I did a lot of ring crewing over there, and basically I started from scratch in a way. And
Mm.
because who am I? At the time I was absolutely nobody.
Mm.
So it only made sense for me to, start from scratch and then, climb the ladder, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Was there a major difference in the way that training was done in the UK to Sweden where you first started?
100%. For Sweden, like in Sweden, over here, it's more like a hobby in a way. And people don't, they have families and such, and that's all right. There's no problem at all. But I remember I wanted so much more. So I basically lived in that gym where we had the ring set up. So the majority of the time I was in Sweden, especially during my early years, I was simply training by myself. And they had their opinions about that and all that, but at the end of the day, all I wanted to do was become better and become an asset to the product, but a lot of people didn't see it that way. So when I eventually went to the UK, because I remember I went to the UK one time before, and it was for a seminar, and that's where I met there was a Knuckleox, I believe, down in London.
Yeah.
And that's where I met guys like Michael Oku, Connor Mills, etc. And I remember thinking like, fuck, this is what I need to be surrounded with, because I had to surround myself with like-minded people. And at the time in Sweden, there was no such thing.
Michael Oku, you just mentioned, and because he just had one of the biggest moments of his career. He just won the British Heavyweight Championship over at Rev Pro UK. Did you see any of the clips going online on Twitter about that?
Yeah, I did. I keep a good eye on pretty much everybody over in the UK. I'm just very, quiet about it, but I'm seeing everything. This is my life.
Mm.
Very seriously. So I keep an eye on the product, and I keep an eye on people that I not only want to have a rematch with, but also like would like to face in the ring one day.
Mm. Because over at Kamikaze Pro, I did come across one match that I found on YouTube where you faced off against a man like Doris.
Yeah,
And of course, his tag team partner right now is the gentleman you faced when you were over here last for Soft Pro Wrestling against Leon Slater.
right.
That was an incredible match between the two of you. I really love the fact that you had the technical while he had the high flying, but you both had the high speed. What was it like coming back to UK for that match?
Truly special. I felt like coming back to the UK took way too long than it should have.
Mm.
But in a way, it worked out perfectly fine, because I was a more experienced wrestler and I had a great opponent. And I remember like people kept telling me about Leon Slater, etc. I can only see stuff on social media. I can
Yeah.
do my research here and there, but like when you're in the ring, that's when you truly find out if it's the real deal. And I remember I wanted to find out for myself. And when I was in that ring, I did find out. And I went to Twitter right after that match, and I said, "Oh yeah, he's everything you guys are saying he is." I understood. And yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting him down the road as well. Like just now, like about 30 minutes ago, we actually shared an interaction on Twitter where he mentioned that he was going to become the best of the Super Junior one day, and I I believe I quote tweeted his tweet with a GIF from our match where I'm waving at him and I say until next time, because I know that's where I'm headed as well.
It would be, I would absolutely love to see that match. There's just so many matches I would like to see. I think when you put out a tweet about you returning to Japan, I put out a list of opponents I would love to kind of see you face in the UK at some point. So come on, promotions. In particular, I would really like to see you face off against Chris Ridgway, who's obviously he's in Japan right now doing his thing with Pro Wrestling Noah. He loves to think of himself as a junior as well. How do
Right.
you find it? It's because sometimes do you find that heavyweight eclipses Super Junior in a way with some promotions, or do you? Because I think Super Juniors can be just as can main event any show.
100%. Yeah, I truly believe that too. I feel like if you look at the big shows like New Japan, for an example, usually the heavyweights are the main event,
Mm,
which is understandable as well. But like I believe like juniors we can main event as well. You know what I mean?
yeah,
For an example, just recently I was in the semi main event they call it over in Japan for the Big Japan Junior Heavyweight title in Korakuen Hall, and that was just like I said semi main. And but in my head we could have definitely main evented that one, even though like we got to keep in mind like some promotions they have their main title, which is the heavyweight title.
yeah,
So it's like the UFC, like if you win the UFC heavyweight championship of the world, you're simply the baddest man on the planet. So that's one way to look at it too.
yeah. I definitely agree. You mentioned about there being in the semi-main event, Korakuen Hall, one of the most famous destinations for wrestling. What was it like soaking in that type of atmosphere?
It's, I mean, everyone's telling me about it, but I'm in a position where I have a really, really hard time to soak in everything that I've already done here
Yeah.
because I'm so far from finished and I can't just, take a breath. I try, I really do try. Some like especially now when I'm back in Sweden and I can look back at stuff, but I just want to get back to work, you know what I mean? Far from finished. But like as far as like wrestling in Korakuen Hall, I remember thinking like when I made my Korakuen Hall debut, I remember thinking I might just, break down in the ring or something when they introduced me. But at the time when it happened, I felt nothing. You know what I mean? I
Mm,
just did my thing, and that was it. And I sat down on my chair after the match, and I was like, well, I just wrestled in Korakuen Hall, and in a way, I was kind of numb
mm,
because I usually tell people when I'm over in Japan, I tell them I'm on autopilot mode, so I don't have time to feel. I just
mm.
do. You know what I mean? Because the schedule over there is way more intense too, and it's a different world. You're not only wrestling on the weekends, you're wrestling every day most of the time. Especially for me since I'm a free agent and all that, so I can almost do whatever I want.
Yeah. Yeah, because I noticed you made a couple of appearances for Gato Move. I was like, oh, is any chance that's against Chris Brooks? Because that's another match I'd love to see you up against Chris Brooks. I think that would
Yeah.
be a great match. Now, because you spent a lot of time in well, still like 3 years within the WXW system, you moved over there for a brief period. Uh, they are the largest promotion in Europe. What was it like getting the opportunity to train there and to wrestle there?
Mm. Training there was a blast. I remember even before the new academy that they have.
Mm,
I remember telling everyone the first time I was there, I was like, "That's all I need. I don't need anything else. I have the ring. I live over there. That's all I need, you know." I'm not too picky. I don't want a nice car or anything like that. Like I've had nothing before, absolutely nothing. So like having that and I'm doing what I love, that's all I need. You know what I mean? But like as far as working for WXW, I remember like even before I went there, I was dreaming and I was working towards getting on that platform. And I remember thinking like, man, the things I would do just to be there and all that. And in my head, this was like, if you made it in WXW, like if you made it there, you're one of the best wrestlers in Europe for sure.
Mm.
That's how I looked at it. But as far as working there, it was a good experience, let's say that. But in a way, not to get too political or anything like that, but I was somewhat shackled.
Yeah.
Uh, but at the end of the day, I went there in order to become a better professional wrestler. I never made it there to, be the best in Europe or anything like that, because all I ever wanted to do was to wrestle in Japan.
Mm.
So like whenever there was something that, a decision that someone would not agree with, and they would come up to me and say, "Hey, why are you doing this?" And, shouldn't you be, you're not, you're at a higher level. I'm like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it one bit, because I know where I'm headed.
Mm.
That's why I would keep reminding a lot of people that I always knew where I was headed. So in that way, like I said, like every single country in Europe that I ever competed in was preparation in order to get to Japan. So now that I am in Japan, and now I'm like going from Sweden to Japan and etc., or whatever booking I have, like whether it's Norway or the UK, that's my priority now, because now I have my foot in and I proved myself over there, and nobody can take that away from me. Also, like we gotta keep in mind, that's where Germany in WXW, that's where I faced off with Fuminori Abe,
Mm.
and that match went kind of viral in a way over here in Europe. And then I met Shigeru Irie one more time. I had met him before in the UK. So after the match against Fuminori Abe, I was put. I truly believe after that match, the management took a look at it and they're like, "Fuck, Ender can go." You know what I mean?
Mm.
So that's how I see. I don't know if it's true, but like there's no other way. Uh, and I was put in the four-way for the shotgun title on night three of gold, 16 karat. And I truly believe it was because of that one match with Fuminori Abe. And then after, when they were about to leave, they invited me over to Japan, and we were working on it ever since March last year. Or yeah, I can't even keep track of time anymore.
Yeah, because it was an ambition match, wasn't it? Which are slightly different to, I guess, a regular match. Have a bit more of a shoot style to it.
Mm. Yeah, for Iria, with Iria-san, I had the ambition match, but I believe it was like 1 minute 30 seconds, something like that. But like as far as the singles match against Fuminori, we were at Inner Circle at the old academy, and it's packed and it's hot, and I had so much emotion going into that match for personal reasons, and I broke that. I broke down, or like people say I broke down, but I broke out in a way. That's how I see it. So I was very emotional after that match because that's exactly what I needed. Uh, and since that match, I became a way more different performer
Mm.
because I knew that was my first ever Japanese opponent, and he bowed down to me, and we talked, and he like it was just surreal at the time. Everything just everything that was out of my control still went my way, and it was a day I probably never forget as well.
Yeah, because your type of wrestling style is very strike based, very submission based. It's very similar to, say, a strong style. How did you get influenced into being that type of performer? Did you study martial arts before, or did you learn anything like that?
Yeah, so even before wrestling, from 2013, I believe, when I was 13 years old at the time, I started Taekwondo. So I am a black belt in this martial art, and I remember I was competing all over Sweden. I trained with the national team, etc. And then this is before wrestling, obviously. Then the passion kind of, you know, expired. Like I didn't have the passion anymore because they were changing the rules. There was no fire anymore, basically. But at the time, I realized not everybody has a black belt in Taekwondo, and I was like, I should implement this into my style, I think. And also, I do jiu-jitsu. So that's where the submissions come from, or the grappling in general. But yeah, the strikes mostly come from Taekwondo, as I'm very kick heavy.
Yeah, and super fast with the kicks. You're absolutely lightning fast when you move around the ring. You faced off against another black belt. He's a karate black belt, fast time Mudo.
Right.
That was a brilliant match. A really stand out. I think again, it's one of the matches I put out on Twitter. People should go watch this match. Of course, he's more of a heavyweight wrestler, isn't he?
Right. Right. Yeah, he's pretty heavy
Do you
compared to
like going up against people who fight in that sort of style, or do you like to mix it up with different types of styles?
different types of styles for sure. But like I'm a fighter at the end of the day. So I'm not really backing down from anything. I'm in there competing. That's how I look at it. Like when I'm in the ring, I'm competing. I'm not here to perform for obviously there's a crowd and all that, but like at the end of the day, it's me against that person in front of me and we're competing against each other. I truly love like winning titles is one thing, but like looking into their eyes and seeing if they really want to be here, that's a way more satisfying feeling to me. And not everybody has that fire inside of them. And that's totally fine, you know what I mean? But like I'm a competitor at the end of the day.
I'd love to see that. Uh, Now, one of the questions we always like to ask our guests, usually with the UK guys, we have the Mount Rushton of British wrestling. But for when we have the European guests, we like to get to know a few more European wrestlers. So, who do you think helped elevate that sort of scene over in Europe, over in Sweden or Germany, or just across Europe?
Such a loaded question. I can honestly say like I don't really keep track and I don't have too much knowledge within this subject, so I don't know if I can comment on it. But are we talking like all time or like currently active, etc.? Or
You can let's have one all time and one active.
I mean, I don't really know, man. It's such a difficult question for me because I've been looking at Japanese wrestling for too long. I don't really keep track on the European scene, unless it's like my, people that I want to see succeed.
Mm.
But like obviously Bruno Sammartino is, Italian. I guess that's one. But yeah, as far as because like I don't know, I can't really look back. I'm just going with I'm just doing my thing, you know what I mean? It's almost as if I have tunnel vision. I'm
Mm.
only seeing my one path right now because I'm on the right path right now.
Yeah.
So I truly believe I don't really know an answer to that question. Sorry.
No, okay. So we're going to. So you obviously you mentioned you watched WWE. How did you actually get into the Japanese scene? How was it tape trading across Sweden? Was there, or was it just via the internet?
I found it on the internet. I watched Prince Devitt, and he caught my attention, and I remember thinking, yeah, that's. And then, I saw how wrestling was treated over there in Japan, quiet audience, reserved, watching with respect and, not being too violent or anything like that. And I just love the feeling of it because it's treated as a sport. And that's how I look at it too. So and always like even before I even discovered wrestling in Japan, I was always fascinated with Japan. Like for an example, when I was in school, I would do school presentations about Japan. I found the culture very interesting, very intriguing. And then when I realized I was gonna, work in order to be in Japan, I started, studying Japanese because why not? I know I'm gonna end up there. So that's also like if you look at my resume, you'll see I'm just facing Japanese guys all the time in Japan. And that's because, I have somewhat of an understanding with the language, and the language barrier is not too big at all because I've been preparing for this time of my, this position of my life.
So I guess you didn't have too much of a culture shock when you went over there, because a lot of people will talk about
Not one
having a
bit,
complete culture shock when they arrive in Japan.
not one bit. I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. Like when I was here in Sweden and late nights, no sleep, I'd watch live videos of people just walking around Shinjuku or Shibuya, like just someone walking around the city, and I'm watching the live stream on YouTube, and I'm thinking I'm gonna be there one day. I'm gonna walk the exact same path they are one day. So like when I first got there, I was like, I'm here. You know what I
Mm.
mean? That's and it was hard to smell the roses because I'm here now. We're starting, in my opinion. That's
Yeah.
how I look at it, and also that's where I debuted in my cursed assassin character. Uh, I felt like that was the correct time to do it, and it's been very successful so far, if I may add. And it'll only get better and better and better. I know for a fact I'm taking over the world sometime soon, you know.
Mm.
I truly consider myself as a dark horse because that's what I've been my entire life. And yeah, I advise people like in my personal life to jump on the hype train all the time because it's just a matter of time, really.
Absolutely, definitely. Because this is not wasn't your first, or this was your second tour over in Big Japan. So obviously, you impressed on the first time round. They wanted to have you back. I'm sure you'll be back over there very,
So
very soon. I hope so, because I like following your career out there. Now you mentioned about the crowd in Japan and the respectfulness, and which I absolutely love. But in Europe, what's it like? Because you've competed in Italy, Spain, Germany, Sweden, Denmark, here in the UK. What's the difference between the crowds here in Europe?
uh, obviously, like if we're looking at the UK, the football chants, for an example, I mean the crowd is in Germany they're more smart, but otherwhere like any other place, they're into it. And when they're into it, they're into it.
Mm,
They're loud. Some people might even get violent with the wrestlers. I've seen that before, or like, experienced that, I should say.
mm,
Especially like when they don't know if it's a show or not. Like recently, so I came back from Japan like a bit longer than a week ago. I was in Sweden for a single day, and then I flew to Norway the very next day, and I stayed there the entire weekend. And over there, they have no clue what we're doing. So it was easy, get them to hate me also, like because I'm Swedish, and we have this, kind of internal rivalry, and yeah, they have no clue what's happening. They think, I'm about to beat them up or anything, something like that. But like they know for a fact if they do something first, I'll just, pay it forward in a way. But yeah, I mean. Europe is, yeah, it's pretty wild. It's good. I mean, it's great. I'm not shitting on the
yeah.
Greek or anything like that. I mean, it's fun. In a way, they kind of empower you when you're in the ring. Same as in Japan, obviously. So as long as there's an audience, I'm good, you know. Because there was a time in Germany during the pandemic when we were doing tapings and there was nobody there, and that was the worst. So I couldn't really get into it. I could never get in the zone properly.
Mm.
So I'm just very grateful if there's a crowd to begin with.
I sat because obviously, yes, I'm British. I sat at quite a few different British shows. I prefer the German crowd. I love sitting amongst it when I travelled to Germany to watch WXW for the World Tag Team Festival. It was incredible. And you're right, you do feel like the crowd are just a bit more. They're like a mix between the Japanese and the English. They're there to watch the thing, but they will do a few singing chants that have kind of
Yep.
migrated from UK
Yeah.
to themselves. And great atmosphere, and always great to talk to people after the show. They, as you say, very knowledgeable on wrestling and so forth. Now, I was going to ask you to put together a sort of sweet a Nordic Scandi invasion force that you could come to the UK with. But maybe we
Hmm.
should do a BJW force instead, because I think that's where your mind is at the moment. That's who you're watching and working with.
The first thought I had in my head when you mentioned the Nordics, I was thinking, do we even have enough that would be capable of doing something like this? You know what I mean? That's my first thought, but then I realized we have incredible talent over here in the Nordics,
Mm,
and I would happily go with them. I don't mind at
okay.
all.
Uh,
So
Let's
Obviously,
go with 5 from Nordic then.
5 of them for sure. I would love to have myself. Let's see here. Carlos Zamora for sure.
Yeah.
Yadi Tamas from Denmark as well. He's Hungarian, but he lives in Denmark.
Hmm.
Let's see here. So now we're 3 in total. I'd probably bring Jamaica from Finland. And then I'd probably bring, let's see here. This one's difficult because I'm thinking strategically, you know what I mean? So we have a powerhouse, we have the junior, we have a guy who can hang the heavyweights. Uh, we have a fighter as well, like another fighter.
What about Alice Inc. for the women's?
For sure, yeah. We can also bring Alice as well, obviously. She was one of the first thoughts I had in my mind, but then I was thinking, she's too much of a superstar. She's too busy. She don't have the time for it.
She is
Yeah,
absolutely killing it at the moment.
for sure, Alice. For sure, Alice. She was in my mind, of course. But yeah, yeah. I would love to have a female in there too. So yeah, probably Alice Inc.
Regina Rosendahl, somebody who's been making a few appearances here in the UK. She's quite a big star over in Finland and Sweden.
She's a star in general.
Yeah.
She's amazing. I'm a big fan of her work.
Let's have a BJW team then. Who should we be watching out for in a BJW if you were to bring a team?
Oof. I'm definitely bringing Aoki Yuya, the current champion over there, the strong champion they call it, and then myself obviously, Sato, Kato, and one more. Probably, or actually, let's do that. I'm for sure have Aoki, Nomura, and let's see, Daisuke Sekimoto, 100%, and so wait, we have me, Sekimoto, Nomura, Aoki, one more, right?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Maybe I'll bring Kato. Yeah, Kato for sure. Yeah, so 5 in total. Yeah, I'd probably bring them over for sure.
Awesome. So there you go, fans out there. Go check out those wrestlers because it's always worth expanding your knowledge. Now, you have wrestled in, like we mentioned, 10 different countries, but you're yet to sort of like go over to the USA. Is that part of your thinking, or are you just really concentrating on Japan is where I've always wanted to be, and this is where I want to stay, sort of thing?
I've actually been to the US
Oh,
before. I went to the New Japan LA dojo back in 2018. But like in terms of like working, I'd stay in Japan. Obviously I'm a businessman at the end of the day. Um, but I mean, doesn't really what's intriguing me is my current goals, and my current goals are in Japan.
yeah,
So, but I'm very much open to, because at the end of the day, I'm a freelancer and I love the element of surprise. So, I might just show up one day somewhere, and it's not like I'm trapped in Japan or anything like
no,
that. When I'm there, I can still travel the world, and yeah, I'd be very much open to working in the United States. I truly believe I would be a standout over there too.
definitely think so. Again, great matches to be had. Is there any sort of like back here in the UK that you haven't faced off with yet that you would like to face off with?
Chris Ridgway, 100%. It's the first name that comes up, just like you said before.
He's the Wrestle Carnival Pure champion over here in the UK. From this sort of like very similar to the ROH Pure division.
Yeah.
Is that something you would be interested in wrestling in that sort of like pure style?
100%, no question about it. I'm a competitor. I'll fight.
Is there anybody else that have crossed your path that you were interested in? Maybe at the Soft Pro show, someone like Ian Skinner.
Ian Skinner for sure. Absolutely, I would love to tear up in the ring with him, but also Connor Mills.
Yes.
So we've been, uh, yeah, he's one of the first guys I ever met the first time I was in the UK. And if I'm not mistaken, he recently won the cruiserweight title in Rev Pro.
Good.
So
Good.
yeah, there you go. That speaks for itself. That's the one.
One of the most underrated performers here in the UK. Actually, I know he's used very well at RevPro UK, and it's great to see him put on that cruiserweight championship. But he's somebody for me who he just needs a bit more of a breakout. He's again, I like guys who bring that MMA style. I like guys that bring and make wrestling look like a sport.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I like performance as well, but I like the
Right.
ones where it's more competitive, it's more sporting,
Yeah.
maybe a mix of even like, do you ever, when you're in the ring with somebody, so like, should we just do 5 minutes of soft shooting?
Can do. But at the end of the day, I see wrestling as an art.
Mm,
It's an art form. So the thing is with me and Connor, like there's similarities with us, like as people. Like we're not on social media, trying to act funny or anything like that. We're simply, we're doing our thing, and whatever happens, happens. We're not out there, getting like the cheap followers. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to, jump on someone's moment just to, hey, here I am or anything like that. I'm not trying to be funny or anything. I take this very seriously, just like him. So in that way, I see us, being a bit similar also with the style and the mentality. So
you were both over in Hungary together recently
yeah,
for Passion Pro, so you must have had
yeah,
a chance to meet back up with him there.
right. Yeah, we were reunited. Like we hadn't seen each other in years, So I'm super glad he's still kicking, doing his thing.
I really like what areas of Hungary seem to be doing with in the Hungarian scene and with Passion Pro and bringing up kind of like big European supercards together.
Yeah.
And they have been using a lot of guys from the UK scene who don't get enough love. Have you seen much of Corey McRae?
Yeah, I have. We have actually met as well back in Barcelona for Lucha Libre Barcelona. And at the time, I thought we were going to face off in the ring, and I was really excited. But then I was told that that's not happening. So maybe one day we'll see. But yeah, I'm aware of him.
Yeah, again, that's another match I would absolutely love to see because again, similar sort of style and so forth. But there are guys like Danny Black. I think he would have a great match. He's a bit more of a high speed, high flyer. Someone like Robbie X. Again, I can imagine it would be such a great match.
Sir, yeah, I'm keeping an eye on every single one of them.
That's awesome to hear. And are there any promotions out here in the UK that you would like to make your appearance for?
Revolution Pro Wrestling, and I mean, yeah, I mean Revolution Pro Wrestling, and also they're tied to New Japan, so probably that's the biggest reason. But also like the competition that
Mm,
exists over there, because that's like the highest level in the UK, in my opinion.
me too.
Uh, and then yeah, that's about it really. Like I said, like I'm simply focused on, Japan, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
There was a time where I wanted to do progress, but that's not the case anymore. Uh, and all that. So yeah, I mean, I'm at the end of the day, I'm open to pretty much anything as long as it's good business.
Yeah, I agree with you. Retro UK at the moment, I know a lot of the promoters don't like me saying it, but yeah, they are very much ahead in the
Yeah.
UK scene, in my
But
opinion. And
don't get me
they
wrong, I love Sog Pro.
mm,
They treated me very well, and they have an incredible team over there, and I would love to return to that place too. There's
yeah,
yeah,
brand new company here. They've really made an impact for a new company. You can see what they're going for. The production's high, the ring crew is great, and
well, they
the
know what
guys
they're
over
doing.
there are
Yeah.
just
I don't
fantastic.
think I've ever seen a company that, took over that quick, in terms of like marketing, bringing in talent, etc.,
Mm.
sorting out, shows and all that. They have an incredible team over there, and I can't wait until the day I return there.
Well, I know they've got a problem with Ian Skinner running his mouth. Maybe they should bring the Curse Assassin over to quieten him down a little bit over at Soft Pro.
I'm a message away. I'm easy to find as well. So yeah, maybe. But it depends because I know for a fact I'm heading back to Japan in September. That's been kind of known for a while. So it's hard to fit in the schedule, but
We'll see what
uh,
comes around. So how long are you going for this time over in Japan?
minimum a year. I told them. I had a meeting with them, and I told them, look, you guys have won the lottery, and you have to realize, like, I'm not one of those who's just gonna come here and then never come back and say, oh, I wrestled in Japan. No, I told them this is my life.
Hmm.
This is what I prepared for 6 years. I worked in order to be here, and now I'm here, and I'm ready to go. Like, I'm prepared. I'm ready. I'm gonna become an asset to the product. And like I said, I'm a freelancer.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, they took me in, and I've given them my word that I'm gonna do everything in my power, to work things out, etc. But I told them, next time, don't bring me for 3 months, bring me for a year minimum. I told them. So we'll see what happens. We're still The reason to why I'm back in Sweden as well is because we need to renew the visa.
Yeah. I was about to say.
So we're working on that right now, as I'm speaking, and yeah, it's I truly believe it's gonna work out. It's a no-brainer, really. I'm gonna go back there and I'm gonna take over every single junior division I ever step in the ring with.
I love that attitude. And of course, the Europeans are taking over in Japan. Of course, Francesco Akira had that great run with AGPW. He's in New Japan now, but Gil Blanc's now traveling out there from France. And are you going to be in at the same time that Tristan Archer's with Big
No,
Japan Wrestling, or are you just going to miss that one?
yeah, he's not there for a long time though.
Okay.
But yeah, I should be there by September, probably middle or end, if I'm lucky, or if everything goes accordingly, I should be there at that time. But I believe, yeah, I'm gonna share, or I'm gonna be roommates with people I probably cannot mention right now because they haven't been announced yet. So yeah, I don't want to spoil that one.
I really, really look forward to it. I wish you best of luck with everything you're going to go on and conquer Japan, because, as I say, I believe you have the ability to do it. You've got the mentality and the right attitude to do it as well. Independent wrestling is still professional wrestling. It should always be treated as if it is a profession. And so absolutely respect for that. Have you got any merch that you want to, or anything merch that you want to sell online quickly?
I have merch on SL Wrestling, but yeah, they're shipped from Germany, so the shipping cost might be a bit, expensive. But other than that, that's where I have my current merch. Or obviously, if I'm on different shows, I'll bring merch too, like portraits, etc. So yeah,
That's it. And where can people follow you, and what do they follow you at?
At Endercara PW, both Instagram and Twitter.
Excellent. Get following. And as I really look forward to seeing what you do in Japan. And I really hope you get back here to the UK as well, because I was very, very blessed to watch you at South Pro against Leon Slater, and hands down, it was such a great match. I think I gave it like 4.5, and I went back and then watched it, and I was like, it was even better than I remember.
Thank you.
It was really one of those matches. It was so great live, but then you get to watch it back again, and you're just like, it was even better than that, because you can see certain bits that you might have missed when you're there live. And absolutely. As I say, good luck with everybody. Everyone out there, follow Endakara, support independent wrestling, support European, British wrestling, support Japanese wrestling. And remember, don't feed the trolls.